Hi, I'm Diane McGarry with Drake Arts. With me today are co-host Tom McGarry, Aroma Duo players, pianist Tianhong Yang, and cellist Johnny Mock, and ASL interpreter Nora. The Aroma Duo has performed as guest artists in the Cape Ann Symphony Orchestra, Portsmouth Symphony Orchestra, and Western Library Series. Pianist Tian Yang has performed solo across Europe, Asia, and America, including the single in Antwerp, Belgium, BBC Holdington Hall in Cardiff, UK, Auditorio Sony in Madrid, and she's also appeared in many renowned festivals such as the Clara Festival and the Amus Festival, both in Belgium. The Art of Piano Festival at the College Conservatory of Music, Cincinnati, and Hanoi International Piano Festival. Tiang promotes contemporary music. One example is her 2016 premiere of the Sonata for Violin and Piano by Daniel Davis. She teaches at Plymouth State University and St. Paul's School. Johnny Muck, a Boston area cellist, freelancer, and teacher, was born in Hong Kong. He has won awards in the CICA International Competition, Birmingham Music Club Scholarship Competition, and the American String Teachers Association Music Competition in the junior and senior divisions. Johnny has performed across the United States, from his soloist debut in Popejoy Hall in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to his 2022 performance with the New Hampshire Philharmonic. He has been a guest artist at the Orvieto Musica Chamber Music Festival in Italy and the Orvieto Classico Festival in Portugal. He teaches at Middlesex Community College and St. Anselm's College. Thank you so much for joining us today. You certainly are extremely accomplished musicians. You're both incredible performers. Tell us, how did you come to music? Did you start out as musicians when you were younger?
Would you like to start first?
Yeah. Well, I think I got into piano when I was 4 years old, when my mom took me to a piano concert, and I was looking at that grand piano, and I thought that was an amazing toy. So I said to my mom, I want this toy. And I guess that was the start of everything for me.
Wow.
Yeah. As for me, I actually wanted to start with the violin, but in Hong Kong. But after I had an interview with the principal, he said, "Well, you're a pretty big guy. You should play cello." And what's a cello? Well, it's a big violin. And I thought, as a kid, a big violin, okay. Sign me up. And then 20-something years later, I'm here.
Yeah, a big violin. That's a terrible way to describe it. So how did you guys begin working together and collaborating?
Well, back in 2019, we had a mutual friend that introduced us because she had just arrived in the United States, and I was in the area freelancing, and we both are quite hoping to search for more in our careers and hoping to find a partner to play chamber music.
Sure.
And
I think I always liked cello. I think when I was younger, I thought either I want to be a pianist or I want to be a cellist. So I always loved the sound of the cello. And then I thought, well, since I know Johnny and I just moved to the States, so I thought, well, let's play something together. So I think that was the start of our playing together. We didn't really start off as a professional, like as an actual duo. We played together a few times, and then at the end of 2019, I think that's when we finally decide, let's play together officially. Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah.
I love the sound of a cello. Actually, I'm so glad you play cello instead of violin. I shouldn't say that violinists would be. There's such a mellow, rich tone to a cello that you don't get it from a lot of other instruments. And you bring it out very well.
Thank you.
in one of your pieces, when you're playing, the strings almost sound like a Native American flute, which is
That's a very good ear. Yes, very close to that. So in one of the pieces that we're performing, there's a Turkish composer named Fazil Say, and in his piece called The Four Cities, he utilizes the cello to imitate a traditional flute, well, close to a traditional flute of that area, of the Turkish area. It's called the duduk.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's very, very similar to
The Native American,
the Native American flute,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
I was very surprised when you were playing it. I was like, wait a minute, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Is it hard to get that sound from a cello? Or is it
It's
just
certainly
the way you-
new.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's certainly new because we in that register, in a very high register of the lowest string on the cello, is an area that not a lot of composers would explore, just because it's often has a very not very traditional sound, not a very traditional cello sound per se. And so it's even when we are learning about this piece and learning how to play and create that sound, we had a lot of exploration on how to incorporate that sound and how to create that sound from what we usually never really explore in the uncharted course territory.
I think we actually looked up a lot of YouTube videos
Ah.
on how the actual duduk, how they actually play it, and how, because as instruments they all have what we call the practice performances, which is how it would sound on the instrument rather than how it's notated out.
Sure.
So we went through a lot of those videos and we heard how they're actually playing it on the flute, and then we tried it on how to play it, imitate it on the cello.
Wow. Well, you did a great job.
That was wonderful. Such a breathy flute sound that I kept looking for the flute. I didn't know where it was coming from, but of course it was the cello.
Yeah. You must
and-
have fun exploring with, because 20th century music does that too, right? And 21st century now. They explore different sounds that are available from the instruments.
Absolutely. If I dare I say, I think our entire program that we have for you, essentially it's just a whole program of how to not play like a cello. Which is it's a new idea, but something that is quite fun in our exploration, in our development in our program. Even in other movements of the piece, he's using the cello to imitate other instruments that in the Western world we never really hear about or know about, because it's a very traditional, a very special traditional instrument to their respective countries. And so
It's actually very interesting because in some parts of the music, he even wrote that do not play in tune, which is completely different from what we usually hear on the cello. They say play a semitone down from the actual notes.
Yeah.
So if you hear it's not in tune, is actually intentionally not in tune.
a big disclaimer right at the bottom of our screen here.
But it's adding a different element to the piece.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
as I was listening to you play, it didn't sound like you were out of tune. It sounded suspenseful, and it added a different element that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
It was
And
neat.
that's one of the reasons why we wanted to play this piece, and we wanted to well, we've been actually performing this piece all over the world.
Wow.
Just for that reason, because I think it's as great as the traditional repertoire is. I think it's also important to start looking ahead, looking forward,
Yeah.
see what's what's in store for us in the classical canon.
Oh, yeah. What's in store? Oh, goodness.
Ken, I think you also evoked a sound that was unusual, at least to me, from the piano. I
Yes.
believe at one point, I think you're holding one of the strings and in the very low register. I don't know. Can you explain what you actually did in case I got it wrong? And just talk about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, actually, so not just he did something very interesting for cello.
Yes.
The composer himself is actually a brilliant pianist.
Oh,
So he explored a lot of the jazziness of the piano, and he did something what we call the mute the strings. So when I'm playing the piece, you will probably see me lean into the piano,
yeah,
and I hold some parts, different parts off the string to
yeah.
create that very metal-y sound.
Yeah.
So the sound that you will hear that's different is you cannot really see it, but is actually what my fingers are doing is moving to different parts of the strings to create
Wow.
that
Oh.
sound. Yeah.
Oh,
That's something to listen up to.
Oh, yes, it was very cool.
almost like a harpist, but because the piano is really a harp, but it's not played that way.
Hmm.
That is so neat.
Hmm.
So how did you fall in love with the genre of contemporary music?
I don't know if I would completely call it the genre of contemporary music.
Because we play a lot of world music.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, we love travel.
Yes, as you
And
can tell.
so we love travel and we love exploring different cultures.
Hmm.
And what draws to us the most is different cultures have different way of exploring or how the music sound in different cultures.
Their expression through music is very different. Well, each culture is very different because they're looking through a different type of lens, because either through their years of histories or just in general how their culture is. So
Yeah, so I think instead of we call it contemporary, because of course all the composers are the late
21st century.
But it's more of we actually play composers from Latin America or composers are from Asia or Turkish composers. So it's more worldly music than I would say contemporary on the dates.
And I think that's sort of what I had mentioned a little bit is what's in store for in the classical canon, is that I think gone are the times when we are just hearing different sounds for the sake of sounds, or just things that we may not completely understand, but now it's looking for something that is special to their own culture, things that originate from their own folk melodies, and maybe tunes that
familiar
for them,
but
tunes that are
we want to introduce them to everyone. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Tommy, you were going to ask something earlier. I'm sorry.
Oh, I asked about the special sound from the piano, but I had another thought. So you mentioned the year 2019. So of course that was right before the pandemic. How were you guys affected by the pandemic and your ability to perform? Because I know performing in person is very, very important for musicians.
Well, I must say, I think we chose the best time to have founded officially our duo, December of 2019.
Oh, wow.
So about 3 months into us telling the world, hey, everybody, we're Aroma Duo.
Yeah.
The world says, all right, let's take a break from you for a
Wow.
second. But yes, it has been difficult, obviously, and this is across the entire music industry, or any industry for that matters, as much as I think that music is so needed, especially during the time of the pandemic, where we're all sort of locked in to our own homes and almost developing a fear of any kind of contact because this virus. And so I think ultimately we persevered, and we as a society, we as a community, we as human beings persevered, and now, and I think it is time for us to shine. And in fact, actually, in the introduction that Diane had mentioned, that is as of this year, already a lot has been added to all of that, about us, because even in the year of 2023, there has been a lot of firsts for us as Aroma Duo. For example, we had just debuted in Carnegie Hall in March.
Nice.
Yeah, wow.
And we had also done our first New England spring tour between the month of January to April or May. And then we just got off from our first Asia tour. It's a mini Asia tour, but we had our first debut performance in Macau and Nanjing. And then now we are, we're performing in Turkey for the first time. And then in the fall, we're about to gear up for a southern tour. So we're going to be performing in the southern states. And so it's been a lot. So a lot of travel, but we have been really enjoying it, and we love going everywhere. So yeah.
It's neat. What are the most exciting places that you've performed?
Ooh,
I would say Carnegie Hall.
I think Carnegie Hall has to be the top.
I just remember before we go on stage, we actually have to do a meditation because we were so nervous. So we said, okay, we're gonna take 10 minutes break. We're gonna take meditation. We're gonna breathe. But I think that was one of the most amazing experience and amazing
milestone.
Place. Yeah,
a big milestone for our group.
Yeah.
There are incredible acoustics in there.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. I'm just imagining you.
Yeah.
There. That's neat. So besides being in Drake It in November, where or September rather, where are you traveling around in the South?
We'll be visiting states in South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, maybe Tennessee and Dallas. Or Dallas is not a state. Texas is a state. Yeah, and that should be, that's about
that's a lot.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot of driving.
Yeah, we actually just came back from San Antonio, so I know it's a lot of driving, but it's beautiful country. It is.
Yeah.
And those are wonderful places to be performing.
Yes, and we're very, very lucky to be able to do all of this. But yeah.
Yep.
That's neat. So you came to music because you started as little children. Are there other arts that you have in your life, or is music the one?
Music is the one. I think for the most part, we both in our spare time really enjoy
Cooking.
That's
actually why we're called Aroma Duo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we both loves coffee. We both loves cooking, and we also both loves making cocktails.
Oh, cool.
So it's a lot of mixing different elements Yeah, it making different mixing different elements. And also one of the reasons why we're called Aroma is because I was born in mainland China. He was born in Hong Kong, and I went all the way to Europe for my studies. And Johnny came to the States, and then he
I
was
studied in the US,
yes.
and then we both met in Boston.
So there is a lot of fusions of culture, of a lot of different elements, and then we thought it's a great mixture. And of course, because of the coffee and cooking, so we thought, well, Aroma Duo is the name.
Great.
Mhm.
That's great. I'm so glad you answered that, because it was one of the things I had questioned in my head, like, where would they come up with aroma? You don't make cookies with your but the coffee and the food making, that's wonderful. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Do you play chamber music with other people, or are you mostly just concentrating on each other?
We do. And also another great thing about calling ourselves Aroma Duo is that even just using the word aroma, since cello and piano is somewhat a core of most chamber groups, I think for even in our previous programs, we would add different instruments into the aroma combination and create something new and and it really helps with variety in the flavors of our programs. And so you'll notice that a lot of our programs, even in our previous programs, it has always something to do with food. Like there's some first course, second course, third course, dessert, and then we also think about how if we add different instruments into our program, how does that provoke different different emotions or even different storylines. We're trying to create a story and to keep our audience engaged and understanding what is this all about. Like, it's not just I'm here, we're here, sitting here, we're performing for you, and from minute 0 to minute, I don't know, 60 to 90 minutes, you shall not breathe. That seems a little too uptight, and I think that we're more leaning or in favor of being able to connect, because I think that connection is such a important factor in any kind of performance. And so that's something that we try our best to, how should I
grasp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To grasp.
You definitely connect. You definitely reach us as an audience. I'm so looking forward to sharing what you do with everyone, because it's just amazing. So please come and see these wonderful performers at our September Arts Saturday. It's available on Eventbrite, and we'd like to take a moment to thank our many sponsors for making the program possible. Amy Lamb, Shelley Payson, Robin Rubendunst, Susan Belkin, Helen Fremont, Caroline Scott, Philip Thibodeau, Lois Wilbur, Anita Bangliese, Marianne Donice Goldman, Galina Sakes, Anonymous, Diane Song, the Massachusetts Cultural Council Festival and Project Grants, and grants from the Concord, Dracut, North Reading, Westford, and Wilmington Cultural Councils, local agencies that are supported by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, a state agency. For more information about this and our other programs, or to become a sponsor yourself, please email us at dracutarts@gmail.com or visit our website, dracutarts.com. You can view all our programs on the Dracut Arts YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@dracutarts.